Brooklyn Nets made a huge trade about a month ago. They got a high-scoring forward, and Michael Porter came from Denver. Michael Porter is the brother of young Toronto Raptors draft pick Jonte Porter. Jonte Porter was expelled for life from the NBA for betting, in essence, shaving points playing poorly so a bunch of his friends could make a lot of money. Michael Porter did a press conference yesterday. He talked openly. He says the players in the NBA have now been caught in no man's land because of the NBA's business involvement with casinos and DraftKings and FanDuel and all that. He says, a lot of these players have come from nothing, and all of a sudden they have money in their hands, and they have pressure from their friends and their hangers-on and their posse. And these players need to be better educated about the decisions they're going to make with the amount of money they have. And Michael Porter said, I understand the business of the NBA involves sponsorships with casinos and all the lotteries and all that. At the end of the day, we shouldn't have betting online because they think that's the trigger point where somebody makes the last minute deal and all of a sudden all these bets show up 20 minutes before tip-off on something that's weird, which becomes a red flag for everybody in the betting industry to look at. Say, there's something not right here. And that's what happened with Jonte Porter and a few other people. He says the betting should only be when John Riley goes to a casino on a holiday in Las Vegas or in Atlantic City, and it shouldn't be online, any of these other places. So that's a late-breaking story for Michael Porter, who's got, obviously, his family situation. Portland Trailblazers have been sold. It was, of course, owned by the legendary Paul Allen, who also owned the Seahawks. He passed on. The family was running it. Franchise has kind of gone into a state of disrepair. I mean, it was in limbo for a whole group of years. Tom Dundon, who owns the NHL Carolina Hurricane, who bought that franchise when it was in trouble. Tom Dundon, who did a great job in the NHL, has now become majority owner of the Portland Trailblazers, and he's going to try to bring them back. Third one, and this is the most interesting thing of all, waiting for another trade. Now, most everybody in the NBA has signed on or been traded, with the exception of Jonathan Kuminga, the jumping jack young forward from Golden State, the South African, who wants out of there. And the Golden State will only trade him if they get fair value. They're not going to let this guy go for nothing. They're talking to Chicago about a straight-up swap for their young guard, Josh Giddey. Giddey averaged double digits. I mean, he is a stroker and a shooter. Kuminga, I think, is his future still ahead of him. I think there's big upside there. He had a lot of bad injuries this past year, but he wants out. Doesn't get along with Steve Kerr. So keep an eye on this. Kuminga to Chicago would be huge. Giddey coming to Golden State would add a lot more firepower to an aging Warriors basketball team. So, John, you got gambling, you got a new owner in Portland, you got this trade. Go ahead.
Okay, well, that was Michael Porter at that press conference. Now, he used to be on the Nuggets, right?
Yes, he got traded about a month ago.
Okay. And I know the DeJounte Porter story was big. Now, I get that he's hurting, Michael Porter's, he's hurting for his brother, his family. I understand that. But he's right. There needs to be better education for these players. And like I said in a previous podcast, we need better education in schools about this kind of thing, personal finance, gambling, and everything that's involved with that. But in my opinion, having the gambling interests integrated with professional sports, usually most people think that's taboo. I think it can be good if it's policed right, because it brings a lot more fan interest into the games. And so, and part of the fan interest is the ability to bet online. And there are guys that they don't just bet on a team right before the game. They bet in the middle of the game, real-time betting, which I've never seen before until a friend showed me on his app that he got from one of his bookies. So in my opinion, I think this integration is good if it's policed. And I really like how sports leagues have an open channel of communication with the sports books, that if there's a spike on something odd, then that raises a red flag. So, I think online betting, in my opinion, is more good than bad. And so I disagree with him as far as banning online gaming. But I understand why he's feeling this way because of his brother.
All right. Interesting NBA story. We'll see what kind of reaction that we get from that.